to a special report brought to you by Omni, the retail blog for retailers by retailers. Today we have an exciting show because we are joined by Nejatian, the VP and General Manager of Financial Solutions for Shopify. Kaz, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great that you could join us today. Man, you guys have been in the news a lot lately. Shopify has. I think I've written about you extensively for Forbes. There was the Walmart partnership. I was going off on all kinds of different things that could happen in the future. But we asked you to come on today specifically to talk about some of the new programs that you guys have been releasing in the financing realm. Mm-hmm. But before we get there, I'd love for you to just give a little background on Shopify. I think Shopify, as well as it's doing, there's still a lot of people who don't know that much about it. So if you don't mind, why don't you start by giving us a little background on what Shopify is and your role at the company?
Yeah, sure. So Shopify is a company that tries to answer a question, which is, what can we do to create more entrepreneurs and small businesses in the world? That's like what we do all day long. We now have over 1 million merchants, most of them small businesses, using Shopify every day to start, run, and grow their business. In fact, if you added those merchants just in the US, combined, they'd be the second largest online retailer in the US. You can think of brands like Allbirds, which is a Shopify merchant, or Kylie Cosmetics. But you can also think of a small store, like my mom's store in north of Toronto, which is a Shopify merchant. She's a single store. She sells in her store physically with Shopify and online, selling home goods. So we have a broad range, over 1 million merchants globally and growing very quickly.
And what about your background, Kaz? Tell us a little bit about you and then what you do at Shopify.
Yeah, so this weird intersection of money and computers is literally all I've done my entire life. I was 14 when I started working at my mom's store, and I became obsessed with her credit card terminal. So I broke it when I was 14, trying to figure out how it worked. And I've been doing nothing else but this since. So I had my first payments business when I was 18, built a payment startup in Silicon Valley that got acquired in 2017, and was the product lead for payments and billing at Facebook before I joined Shopify to lead the financial solutions team at Shopify. And our job at Shopify is to make the pains of things that have to do with money go away from merchants. So we deal with things like payments, taxes, risk, fraud, and a whole array of funding issues for all of our merchants.
So they can focus on being merchants, it sounds like.
Yeah, because no one really, honestly, this is what people don't do. People don't get into business to say, you know what I really like doing? I really like dealing with banks. I want to do more of that. People just don't say that. So it's our job to make that pain go away so they can focus on building things that add value.
Yeah, I want to keep the books. Gosh, I want to create a new brand online so I can keep the books more accurately than I did in the past. Yeah, I have to ask, because if we ever get up to Toronto, what type of shop does your mother have, since it's now been referenced twice?
She's a home decor store. So
okay.
So she sells, plates and lamps and those things.
I used to run that for Target.com, so know that business well. That's fantastic. Okay, well, if I ever head up there, Ann and I will have to check it out. All right, well, let's turn our attention then. So you brought it up, so let's talk about it. So the big announcement that we want to learn more about is Shopify Balance. What is that?
Yeah, so if you think about the world of banking, like if you're a big company like Shopify, banking is actually relatively easy for you. I pick up the phone and have 4 banks at the end of the line asking me what they can do for me. But if you're a small business, traditional legacy banks just suck. They provide a terrible service at expensive rates that are frequently unavailable. Just look at during the past pandemic. Tens of thousands of merchants in the US did the following thing. The pandemic hit, they picked up the phone and called their bank. They waited on hold for 4.5 hours. And then they were told to send a fax with past 5 years tax results and the future 5 years projections and business plans. Nobody does that. We don't even have a fax machine at Shopify. I don't even know how to fax the bank. And this is
I don't even know where to buy a fax machine.
Yeah, I honestly don't even know how to, right. None of our merchants, I can promise you this. the most successful brands on Shopify did not have a 5-year business plan when they started, and they're selling billions of dollars of goods today. That's just not how modern businesses work, and just banks aren't set up to help them. And this is why today, tens of thousands of our merchants in the US are using their personal bank account instead of a business bank account to do their business. And that's
How many did you say?
tens of thousands. Like it's a significant portion of our merchants use a personal bank account just in the US. And this is getting worse, not better. Banks are doing less for small businesses, not more. You have to just look what happened the past 3-4 months. Pandemic hit, and every bank did the following thing. They said, you know what? We're going to lend less money. We're going to fund fewer small businesses. All the money we have as guaranteed loans, we're going to give to our largest merchants. What we did when the pandemic hit was we said, you know what? We're going to put an extra $200 million to fund small businesses today. And Shopify Balance we don't really think of it as a bank because we think it's way better than a bank. It's a simple business account that will allow merchants to have a place to store their money and spend from. It's a business card that will allow them to avoid using their personal card or cards that aren't designed for small businesses for spending. And it's a place where they can make smart business decisions. So all of our merchants tell us that they have to deal with a dozen different systems. At the end of the day, everything ends up in a shoebox or an Excel sheet. That's a terrible place to make business decisions, right? We at Shopify don't make business decisions from a shoebox. We have a finance department. Large merchants don't do shoeboxes, but our merchants do, and this is bad for them. So we're going to give them a CFO as a software, so they can make smart business decisions based on what they know, rather than have to worry about seeing around a bend.
So Kaz, tell me a little bit about what that process looks like. So say I have an e-commerce store I want to stand up on Shopify. What does starting with the Balance program look like? What benefits are you really providing me as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, and look, I think there's like two things. One is that an increasing number of our merchants aren't just e-commerce merchants; they're omni-channel merchants.
Right, especially now, I bet.
Oh yeah, it's become like, we had physical retailers that were physical only when the pandemic hit, and we saw their sales just drop off a cliff. But those sales, I think 95% of those sales were replaced with online sales at those same merchants within a couple of weeks. Because they were able to go online like that.
Sure.
Try doing that if you have a legacy point of sale system. Like try figuring out how to do inventory.
Right.
In fact, that's like the scariest nightmare ever. Let's not go there.
Yeah, but with Balance, what happens is this. You start a Shopify store and use Shopify Payments, which is our native payment solution.
Okay.
You don't have to give us any more information. Whatever you gave us to open your store is what we need to give you a bank account and a spending card. Day one. So you actually onboard onto it with zero fees associated with it, no monthly fees, no recurring charges, no hidden fees. And that will be the place where your sales will go. So when you make a sale on Shopify, you don't have to wait for we send money right now from Shopify Payments to external banks. This can sometimes take up to a week to arrive at a merchant's account. With Balance, that doesn't exist. So the money is available in Balance much faster, and you can use it much more quickly. And we'll be able to use the information from your store to tell you helpful things like, is this the good time to buy Facebook ads? Is this a good time to go advertise on Google? Is it a good time to buy more inventory? Because that's what happens today, right? We have a product called Capital, which is the best way to fund direct-to-consumer businesses ever. And our merchants think of us as kind of business advisors that call saying, hey, should I buy inventory right now? How do I do that? And that's stuff we're going to just put in software. The type of thing you'd go to your CFO for at Target, now Shopify merchants can go to Shopify for.
So that's interesting. So another program you guys are looking at, or another way you help merchants, is helping them basically with their inventory financing, which has got to be a pretty significant cost on their ledger. Yeah, Ledger, talk about that more then. How does that work?
So we have a product called Capital, which has funded over $1 billion in direct-to-consumer businesses in the US. It's now available in UK and Canada as well, but we started in the US. And so this is, traditional financing is just fundamentally broken for retail because banks don't really understand direct-to-consumer retail, and VCs don't understand direct-to-consumer retail because it just doesn't work like in a really intuitive way. So capital is designed to fill that niche. The only thing we use to give you funding is the information that is available in your Shopify system.
Mm-hmm.
Things like your history of sales,
Yeah.
like what you're selling, how you're selling it, who's coming to your store. That information, the information that really like a bank wouldn't know what to do with. We don't have personal guarantees or credit scores or business plans. And because of this, by the way, we fund a significantly higher percentage of women and minority entrepreneurs than banks do, who rely on two things that minority business owners don't want to do: personal guarantees and credit scores. Mm-hmm. Those two things shut the door for most business owners to bank financing.
Yeah, so essentially you're saying you've got different data that can go into the algorithms almost more in real time to help you understand the credit risk or worthiness of any individual applicant based on what they're already doing via Shopify, right?
Yeah, this was my favorite stat from the last few weeks. We launched Shopify Capital in Canada. It was a few weeks ago.
Okay.
The first funding we issued was within 37 minutes of the email going out saying this program is available. Not 37 days, 37 minutes. We funded someone. And you're literally, there is no application process. We come to our merchants. We say, we think you could use this money to do this. You should do it. And merchants just love it. It's a great way of making sure that we're aligned with our merchants. We only get paid back if they make sales. And it's just like a fantastic program that our merchants love.
Yeah, it makes sense. You can almost kind of pre-screen everything that's happening as an offer. Now, correct us if I'm wrong, there's also different extensions of the Balance program too, going back to that, where aren't there like loyalty benefits and whatnot if you're using it and things of that nature?
No, totally. This is like what we've been told over and over again the merchants are waiting for. So the overwhelming majority of our merchant spending is on marketing and shipping. Mm-hmm. Those are two categories that personal credit cards don't have rewards for, right? It's not a thing. Personal credit cards are designed to reward you for going to restaurants and flying. Right. And our merchants are like, look, I spend money on marketing and shipping. Right. So when we launch, we're not quite prepared to announce exactly what they'll be, but there'll be rewards focused on things our merchants spend money on, primarily marketing and shipping. And we're super excited with some of the partnerships we're going to announce at some point on this stuff too. That'll give our merchants really deep intuition and deep connections to other brands.
So that's really intriguing. So talk to me, I'm curious, and that's probably a good segue too to kind of close us out here, but in terms of like where things are going next. I mean, one of the things that's interesting to me though, so you essentially have to be on the Shopify platform to start this. And then any revenue you bring in immediately essentially gets put into this account. But from a startup perspective, any kind of like startup, can I fund the account myself? Like, how does that work?
It will do everything a bank account will do.
Okay.
It'll do everything a bank account will do. It just will do more than what a regular bank account will do. You could use it to write checks. You could use it to pay your bills. You could use it to like take your sales from other platforms if you're on them.
Oh, wow.
And you can fund it, and you can use it any ATM in the US to withdraw funds from with your card. So it'll be, the way, this is how we think of it. Imagine if you were a big business and a bank wanted to bend over backwards to make you really happy. We're just going to take the million merchants we have and say, treat them like one business and give them all the benefits you would have given to a massive, massive company. Right. Imagine the second largest e-commerce center in the US coming to your door. They're here.
Yeah, you can aggregate the whole thing. So where's it going next? You've mentioned a few places. Like what should we expect, or what can you talk about that's on the horizon for the back half of the year, maybe even the rest of 2021 or in the beginning of 2021, especially with the pandemic and everything that's going on?
Yeah, so we'll launch Balance in the US to merchants on Shopify payments this year.
Okay.
The wait list on it already is getting massive, so we're super excited people want this product. Later this year, we'll also launch Shop Pay Installments for our merchants, which is the ability of merchants to offer alternative financing to their buyers. Our merchants have told us over and over again that their buyers like choice when it comes to paying for things. Sometimes they don't want to put things on a credit card because they're worried about how that will impact their debt. So we're offering Shop Pay Installments, which will allow merchants to offer their buyers the ability to pay for something over four installments rather than upfront. We'll take with our partner the entire financial risk of those payments. So the merchant will get paid upfront. The customer will pay no interest. That's coming later this year.
So that's more of a no, sorry, Kaz, that's more of a no interest type installment plan too, not just breaking it up into traditional financing arrangements. So something similar to like okay, got it.
Yeah, this will be the goal here is honestly to offer some flexible payment options to consumers. Shop Pay is the biggest secret that people don't know about yet. Shop Pay is the best payment method on the internet. It's available only on Shopify right now, but it converts. We actually made this numbers public a few weeks ago. Shop Pay converts at 191% better than other checkouts.
Meaning what? Explain that.
So if you enable Shop Pay on your store, your Shopify store, there are now over 40 million consumers who use Shop Pay as their preferred payment method. This is just like a wallet. Their address, payment information is stored, so it becomes one-click checkout on any Shopify store that enables it. And apples to apples comparison of having Shop Pay and not having Shop Pay show 1.91 times increase in conversion for the same buyer.
That makes sense. What is the specific thing that's driving that within the conversion process?
Well, this is my favorite thing. So people think about checkout abandonment and e-commerce a lot. Imagine a real world, like your Target, and 50% of people who get to a checkout just drop everything and walk out. Like if that happened in the real world, people would be putting their hair on fire trying to fix that.
Right.
But for some reason in e-commerce, legacy e-commerce providers are perfectly fine with that. Like, whatever, this is just normal in e-commerce.
Yeah.
And Shop Pay is our answer to this.
Yeah.
With Shop Pay, there is no checkout. Like you click a button, the things get shipped. It's one-click buying experience from every Shopify payment store that merchants can enable.
Do you think, is it just because it's one click, it's so easy, they're not getting hung up in like, here's the final, here are the final shipping instructions I didn't know before, here's the final payment aspects I didn't know before?
Two things. I think one is that the speed of checkout. The checkout is so much faster. The second is we have an app called the Shop app.
Okay.
So if you use Shop Pay, you can track your package through the Shop app, and Shopify will make that package carbon neutral for you.
Interesting.
So we'll pay a carbon offset for it.
Okay.
And what you'll be able to do, if you want to communicate with the merchant, you can follow the merchant to the Shop app. And it's become like, it is my favorite payment. And people who use it never use another payment method.
Interesting. So
like you're just like, it's a fantastic thing. And we're really excited about bringing that to more merchants in the US too.
So there's that complementary aspect in terms of the visibility it provides to shipping and being able to contact the merchants as things go forward that people also find as a benefit. Yeah. That's fascinating. I'm glad I asked the probe there. Those were good. That was a good realm to go into. I didn't know that before. Awesome, man. Anything else? Anything else on the horizon?
We have, like there's a bunch of things we're working on that we're not quite ready to talk about, but I'm really excited about like this path we're on where, like when Shopify first started, the goal was just make the shopping cart easy. Then we said, hey, let's make websites easy. Then we said, let's make point of sale easy. And the next path we're taking on is, look, we think everything associated with financing, running a business is just a massive headache. Like the second you leave the Shopify platform, things start being terrible and sucky. So we started to make those things better now. And we're super excited for like the next few things we'll launch.
Yeah. And engaging small businesses, making things easier for small and medium-sized businesses. That's awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you so much. Thanks for spending time with us today. Really appreciate it. Again, for everyone listening, that's Kaz Nejatian, the VP and GM of Financial Solutions for Shopify.